Welcome everybody to the Frontrunner Leadership Panel. This is the one I'm looking forward to the most. To get started, let's meet our esteemed panelists and who I'd like to call my esteemed colleagues. Fausta, if you would introduce yourself and your title, please.
Hi, Jason. Thank you. So again, my name is Fausta, and I'm the VP of Studio Experience Culture at Cognizant Softvision.
Welcome, Fausta. Ewan, to you.
Hi, my name's Ewan Davis, and I head up Cognizant Research for the good ship Cognizant.
Thank you, Ewan. Sophia, to you.
Good day, everyone. Thank you so much for your time, for your attention. I am Sophia Mendelson. I am Cognizant's Chief Sustainability Officer and Global VP of Environmental Social Governance.
Welcome, everyone. And I'm super excited to be able to talk to you guys today about something I'm very passionate about, and that's leadership. So the setup is we're going to discuss a specific leadership trait. All of us will have one trait, and I'm going to ask 4 specific questions to all of you. After that, we're going to engage in some group conversation and talk about those traits in various ways. To kick us off, we recorded Jessica, and her topic was determination. So we're going to hear a little bit about what it means to be determined and how determination can help us be front runners and establish our leadership traits to share with our junior colleagues and to take into our professional and personal lives. So we're going to hear from Jessica, and then we're going to discuss. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here with Jessica, and we're here to talk about leadership. What I want you to do today, and for this panel, is suspend disbelief that you're not a university professor. You're here to teach us about leadership a little bit. And we have a specific trait we want to talk to you about because as we were reading about you and learning about you and we've seen you grow, we found that determination might just be the perfect leadership trait for you to discuss amongst a panel of experts and leaders in their fields as well. So I want to talk about that a little bit. I want you to kind of teach us, why you think determination is important, and then give us some tips and tricks.
So I can only go from my own experiences, and what I can say is that there are knockbacks along the way. There are obstacles. There are many an obstacle. There can be, whether that be, they come in all different shapes and sizes, these obstacles. And you have to be able to, if you get knocked back, you have to be able to dust yourself down and go again. And to be dedicated, to me, it means that with the rough and the smooth, you stick with it and you make sure that you're trying at 100% your capabilities. And, I really believe that quitting isn't an option if you want to get to the top. You have to, I think, be able to work well with people around you as well and use strengths of other people's to help you along your way. And nothing comes easy, I really don't think. And being able to be dedicated and, hard work pays off. I believe that hard work pays off.
That's really good. I appreciate that. I want to just double click on, when you get knocked back, it takes an incredible amount of energy to stay determined. For new leaders or even seasoned leaders, what's a tip you would give them to maintain that energy in being determined, that singular focus, right? How do you do that? How do you as a person, and how have you learned to bring that energy day in and day out?
Firstly, I think everybody responds differently to knockbacks. And for me, I used to, if I was knocked back, I used to kind of almost feel bad for needing just a little bit of time to recoup myself. And that would send me, give me other issues. So for me, if I've had issues or, obstacles, I've allowed myself the time to get over it, if that makes sense. And if you need a day, sometimes I need a day, sometimes I need a couple of hours, sometimes I need an hour. That's okay, because I need time to recover, remember why I do it, and then I dust myself down and then I go again. So it's okay to give yourself some time.
It is okay, right? And I think the weight and the speed of the world in which we all operate, I think that's an important reminder to folks. And I appreciate you bringing that up, because the time for you, even in those setbacks, is important to, again, as you put it, push forward and not quit and dust yourself off. That's fantastic. As we look at examples of determination, and we look at that attribute, and we just talked about it a little bit. Has anyone specific in your life kind of led the way for you to follow that trait and to embody that trait? Or in the opposite, have you been able to inspire others? And I'm sure you have, but do you know anybody that you've inspired to be determined? And how has that determination really helped you along in your career, knowing that you've been a significant inspiration to some, or that you followed the inspiration of others?
I think that for me, I look up to sports people and I look up to athletes. So I see how hard they work, which shows me how hard that I need to work if I want to be the best. So I very much took inspiration from the athletes all around the world, not just motorsport, but every different sport, because they're all take dedication just in slightly different ways. So, and of course, you know, if I can inspire younger generation in my field or the motorsport world, there are so many more females within the sport now than what there were a few years ago. And if I can break down barriers in my career to enable the younger generation to not have to face those same barriers that I came up against, then the route is almost easier for them, then that's incredible. And that doesn't mean that I'm finished with my career yet.
Thank you for being very clear on the fact that this is not your mic drop moment. You're still trucking along because you're determined to keep going. I love that. So has anybody or have you looked up to anybody that's helped shown that light to you? Has somebody been an inspiration that you wouldn't mind calling out as your inspiration and kind of true north and being determined? Have you had that one person or group of people?
So Sebastian Vettel is obviously 4-time world champion. And he's sadly announced his retirement now, but, you know, he's still been on the hunt, and all these drivers are so hungry to do well and dedicated at what they do. And also, like with racing, everybody is so focused and you often work in teams. Like, I wouldn't be able to do my job without the mechanics, without the engineers, without all the different areas within motorsport, the tire guys and girls. There are so many different areas of motorsport that perhaps don't get as much coverage as what the drivers get as such. So it's really a team effort.
I love that. So when we look at some of the practical attributes coming back to determination, I think what I'm hearing you say is, you know, determination is an internal trait, but the success factor is having the right enablers around you. You know, how would you like to sign off on, you know, this university style lecture on the leadership trait determination by Jess?
Anything that's worth having doesn't come easily.
I don't think there's a better way to end the talk as something so passionate and ingrained in you that you have this perfect quib ready to go. And it echoes determination and it echoes everything. Listen, your success, your inspiration to generations to come has been something I've loved to learn about. And I'm so glad we got to talk, Jess. I wish you well, and please keep staying determined for everybody that's your supporting cast and the enablers in your success. I've had a blast talking to you today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jason. Thanks a lot.
Interesting. I can't think of a better Formula One ambassador than Jessica with her energy, but she brings up some valid points that I want to talk to you about today. It not only in determination of her spirit individually, but the determination to be successful with the right cast of characters around you and the right team around you. I want to go around the room quickly and just discuss that from a leadership perspective. Fausto, I'm going to start with you because in a few moments, we're going to talk about authenticity as one of your key attributes. And we discuss what it means to be enabled by a team. And Jessica just shared that with us. What quibs would you have to add on to that?
Well, for me, really, the team is everything, right? And as she says, I don't have engineers, right, or the kind of engineers that she has. I had others engineers, right, that I work. But for me, understanding the power of the team and inspire them, elevating them, make them shine and understand. I'm going to talk about this authenticity thing that is all being our full selves. So understand what is different for each member of the team, and that they understand that different is actually their superpower, or what they're going to do with that, right? How they're going to how they're going to shine with that. So for me, that's and it's related to determination too, right? But finding that thing and make sure that team is able to work and to succeed with that, it's for me, it relates to what Jessica was saying.
It's perfect. Your difference is your superpower. It's so good. Ewan, yours we're going to talk about is adaptability. Tell me a little bit about what you were feeling knowing that we're going to be discussing adaptability as a leadership trait and a front runner trait, as Jessica was sharing her views on determination.
Sure. Do you know what it got me thinking? It got me thinking about my grandmother, because my grandmother was actually a fortune teller spiritualist, and she was really into star signs. So stick with me for a while and I'll sort of explain why. But she said to me, you know, your star sign, Ewan, is Pisces. And she said, that's a really important star sign. And I said to her, well, why? And she said, well, you swim around a problem in lots of different ways. You have sort of two different views that looks at things, and you try and sort of pick apart a problem and look at it from different perspectives. And although I don't believe in that, I think there's something in the ability to sort of look at things from a different perspective that really matters. So if you need to be adaptable, I think you have to sort of look at, you know, a problem from different perspectives, but also ask people again, and ask, you know, the most senior person in the room to the most inexperienced person in the room. It might be a fresh student, it might be a fresh pair of eyes, but you do need a 360 perspective really on what's actually going on. So that kind of quality, that to be able to sort of look at things in the round, I think is really, really important when you're trying to be adaptable. Because as you know, the best laid plans of mice and men, they can go off the rails. So you have to be able to sort of get the signals early on when things are going a little bit south and course correct. And I think that's a really important behavioral attribute of any leader, is to be able to sort of listen to everyone in the room. As Fausta was saying, it's understanding the different superpowers that you have around the table, and you know what your superpower is that you can bring. And I think one of my superpowers is the ability to want to get to know, you know, what the youngest person in the room thinks, because you know what, they're usually right. They have an instinct about something, and that instinct is something that you can tend to forget the more you bury yourself in a project. So that's my take on adaptability and what it means.
And Ewan, it's such a perfect segue to talk about what Jessica harkened back to, which, you know, the drivers get a lot of the spotlight, but there's that entire team that has opinion, that has a voice at the table. And I think you connected that perfectly. Sophia, now yours is vision. And this is another interesting take as we connect the dots across, and no pressure, but Fausta and Ewan gave great responses. So talk to me a little bit about vision and how you are reacting to Jessica's video.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll also connect it back to what Fausta and Ewan said. We tend to think about vision on a time scale. What's happening now versus what will happen in the future. Let's turn that and think about it on a quantity of mind scale. If it's just you, it's not a vision, it's a daydream. It's only a vision when you can communicate it and incorporate other people's opinion into it. And Ewan said something that's often used as the definition of intelligence, being able to hold two contradictory thoughts in your mind at the same time. It's a vision when you've incorporated other people and you've pressure tested it against other people who disagree with you.
I love that. That pressure test. Very important. The connections the three of you just made to determination, incredible. I've got t-shirts, bumper stickers. I have everything I need now to sign off and go be a world famous leadership expert, but I still want to talk to you guys a little bit more. And matter of fact, Sophia, we're going to come to you now because one, you did great answering the question. So I think we're going to put you ahead of the class. If we're handing out points, you just got 100 points. Everybody else is at 0. I'm kidding, of course. So Sophia, I want to give you, a 10-minute spotlight now to dive in a little bit more about vision. And we're going to come around and we're going to talk about what you stated in vision and connect them. But the floor is yours. Talk to us a little bit more about vision as that trait and as you see it.
Thank you, Jason. And first, I'll actually talk about our audience. If you are listening to this, if you are part of the ecosystem here with access to this education, to these leaders and these thoughts, and you're paying attention and not multitasking, then you've already shown you have vision. And because you are extending yourself past your day-to-day, past your routine, and you're looking to incorporate other people's opinion, you're looking for other people's leadership to form your own personal vision. Now, when we talk about vision, we have our basic definition, what's happening today versus our ability to see or think about what will happen in the future. That's your base level. Now let's go to the second level. The second level is not what will happen, but what should or could happen. And that will not come to fruition without you. You have a vision maybe of the digital transformation, or if you're me, of sustainability and market solutions to address climate change. If I sit on my tuchus, as my grandmother would say, or my behind, and don't act on that, it's not a vision. It's just an idea, and it will not come to fruition. The vision will remain a continuously fossil and traditional based economy. So not what will happen, but what could happen. And then the third part is your role in the larger ecosystem. Again, the theme we'll keep coming back to here is vision is not about you. It's about understanding your place in something larger. So for example, for me, I'm thinking about my vision in Cognizant's ecosystem. What can I bring to Cognizant's leadership? What can I bring to our clients? How can I take my passion and reshape it into a Cognizant shaped vision? Or if you're working on a specific solution, you might start with something very, very, very general, and then you want to reshape that vision to the market. Maybe you're working in automotive, maybe you're working on design. It's got to kind of like be sucked in and go from grandiose to specific. So to do that, we have two buckets. We have the personal and we have the intellectual. Both equally important, both equally hard, to be totally honest with you. So let's start with the personal. The first is communication, your ability to communicate your vision. And that doesn't mean telling people what you think will happen. That means telling people the outcome you're seeking to achieve. I am seeking to create a more equitable, environmentally reasonable global economy. That is what's going to happen. The vision, my vision for it, is that we at Cognizant, we at Softvision are the people who will make that happen through market-based solutions. I work on communicating that internally and externally every day. If I can't articulate it, if I can't have you buy into it, it doesn't exist. Speaking of, the second is buy-in. No one will buy into your vision if you can't also articulate what it does for them. Visions are scary. Visions are change. And there's a lot of psychological research. We don't like changes, not as animals, not as human beings. So you have to tell people where their role is in their new vision. Where are they going to be useful? Where is their job going to come from? Where is their food going to come from? How's their family going to feel about it? The third is empathy. You can see how we're going in a line here, right? Empathy means understanding that other people might be scared of your vision, not like it, have a different vision that completely contradicts yours. You have to see them on your level. You are a human being with a vision. They are a human being with a vision. You are the same. You are not in competition. And ultimately, your vision will only be successful if you can look at someone who disagrees with you and say, you like me. You like me are trying to do something. You like me are scared. You like me are trying to climb the corporate ladder. And that allows you to be, our fourth personal thing, more resilient. Because visions are long-term. And that means it's a marathon, not a race. And it means you need energy to go the distance. If you spin out, if you pour all your energy into one idea that won't work, you're not going to make the distance. I'm sure Fausta has many examples of start fast, fail fast, recreate without letting it suck your energy up. And then quickly, I'll go to our second bucket of the intellectual. To have and act on a vision, you need to be able to do two things in the intellectual space. The first is separate the signal from the noise. Not everything that happens to you, not everything you read about in the paper will be a sign that your vision is correct or should take you in one specific direction. A competitor, a colleague, a family member, a country might do something. What you need to be able to do is look at that and say, is this relevant to a larger trend that should shape my vision? Is this relevant evidence Or is this just a random example? Social media, for example, even the news is full of noise, and it can frequently spin us up and take down our resilience. So again, you are looking for the signal through the noise. The second is finding your center in the swirl. You will not be able to change the world. It is not true that one devoted person can change the world. One devoted person can change their community. One devoted person can have a vision that inspires others, and those people collectively change something. To be able to do that, know your place, know your role, be specific with your vision, and let what doesn't work for you or doesn't serve you go. And with that, I'll pass it back over to Jason.
Fantastic. I'm not even going to talk. Ewan, response, reaction?
Well, I mean, that's a tour de force. It's really difficult to sort of give an immediate response. I think it's spot on. And as Sophia was talking, it reminded me of when I went to Atlanta, a great city, which I never really expected to be such a great city. And they have a civil rights museum out there. And outside, there's a beautiful monument with a waterfall on it that has a quote from Margaret Mead. And Margaret Mead, I think, is one of the great civil rights, activists in America. And I pulled it up now. She sort of said this, and it's etched on this monument: "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's only the only thing that ever has." And I think that sort of sums up, you have to come together with other people, but recognize you can make big changes if you can find like-minded people who want to make changes as well. And I commend Sophia, because I think the whole focus on ESG, sustainability, I think that's going to be, absolutely critical. And even more so, I feel it in Europe. We have a lot of compliance that's about to hit in a lot of, kind of penalties, which is a little bit depressing. That's what's kind of creating the behaviors. But you can see where this is beginning to move and just how significant our systems and processes and ways of living are going to change. So yeah, I 100% agree with what Sophia was saying, and I thought there's a very interesting kind of way of framing how you need to think about a vision. And I sort of come back to this quote by Margaret Mead by thinking, okay, well, find your allies, find your friends, and think about what you can do when you do come together to try and change something for the better.
Fantastic. Fausta, to you.
Again, I take a lot of notes, but I especially, this especially talked to me that I said, know your role, like know your place on this vision and what the change that you're going to make. And this team inspiration that also Ian was talking about, right? He traveled to, I will travel to Philadelphia, right? You would travel to Atlanta, right, Ian? So when I was in Philly and I went to, I know I didn't visit you, Jason, there, but near your house. I went to the Constitution Museum. I don't know if you've ever been there, but that for me was a really revelation moment also for that, for even not being American, right? To see what these founding fathers, right, were doing when they were creating this country and even this word, right? We, the people. And they didn't say we the men, we the, right? They say we the people, even those things to think about. They had really this vision, right? And it was really something they were building for the future. And they knew their role, right? And they knew their place there, that they were building something bigger. And founding that leadership for me doesn't make sense without a team, right? And always being conscious about that. When you're young, on your start your career, you feel like you're going to be alone doing everything, that you have to have all the qualities and all the traits and all the talents. And it's exhausting. But the more you grow and the more you see that you can do anything alone, right? So for me, that's what especially speaks to me about vision, right? That leadership without that team, without that without that is not going anywhere.
Fantastic. Sophia, thank you very much. ESG being a battleground that we're heavy into. Your talk being a front runner in that battleground, true inspiration. Thank you for that. Absolutely loved it. Hugh, and we're going to come to you now, and we're going to double click down into a little bit deeper about adaptability. So we've shared a little bit more, but I'd like to hear more about your views on adaptability. Go ahead.
Sure. I run Cognizant Research, and we've just come off a really big research program, and it is all about adaptability. And basically, I can't really give you a guide on how to be adaptable, but what I can say, it's one of those skills and one of those attributes that's becoming more and more important as we move through life. And I think we can all agree our worlds are really speeding up, in fact, accelerating. And the big piece of research I've just finished was with The Economist. So we did a big focus on kind of future ready and how you can actually make your business future ready. And there's, there's collateral on The Economist site under our brand. There's collateral on our site all around what it takes to be a modern enterprise and how you can be kind of fit for purpose. There's a benchmarking tool that, basically tells a client or a reader or a visitor to the site, just how future ready they actually are. We sort of measure, their strategic priorities. We look at the value from technology. We look at ESG. We sort of look at all these things in the round to understand just how fit for purpose organizations are. And what's really interesting is there's so much now thrown at the leadership, the executive class today, so much that I almost feel we're beginning to get muddled on where to focus because everything seems to be a priority. For example, you might have issues around your sustainability reporting. You might have issues around talent capability. You might have issues around, quality of your experiences that you're delivering to customers. And you've just got these, kind of priorities which are sort of coming out of the woodwork everywhere. So I actually feel rather sorry for, today's executive class because I don't think it was ever that difficult up until now, and it's getting even more difficult. So for me, adaptability is to be able to sort of recognize that change is now a constant. And Sophia mentioned it, no one likes change, but it really is a fact of business life today. It's a fact of my life. I'm sure we're all sort of agree that we have to look at change as being, a necessary factor of how business works today. But what's interesting for me, we used to talk about 3-year plans and 5-year plans. We're now sort of talking about 3-month plans and 6-month plans, and if we're lucky, 12-month plans. So it just shows you how this need to be adaptable is really, really key. So I'll sort of go back to what I was saying. It's having the right team in the room and having those critical friends that can give you advice of what's going on. But also as well, it's to what Fausta was saying, it's sort of looking outside your day-to-day and sort of getting inspiration, from wherever you can get it, and sort of take a learning and sort of apply it, look at your own world and sort of see whether you need to think about changing. So I'm afraid I haven't got a kind of a guidebook on adaptability, but I do have a sense that it's becoming ever more critical, and it's incumbent on us as leaders, as executives, as people, as workers, whatever, to really start being open to sort of the sort of changes which are beginning to be felt around us on a day-to-day basis. So I hope that helps, but I'm just thinking about the Economist work we've just done and seeing just how difficult it is to navigate this complexity. And looking at the world today from where I sit in Europe, there's an awful lot of uncertainty building around us, and I think it's going to get even more severe. So it's having this sort of resilience. I've got my own, tips and tricks. I do a lot of exercise. I kind of swim a lot to try and sort of clear my head, do a bit of meditation when I can, just to sort of kind of stop all the noises going around. I think you've just got to find your own path through this and try and, make yourself resilient in the best way that you actually can.
I love that you bring up the energy to be resilient, the energy to be adaptability. Jessica talked about that with sometimes just taking a mental health minute for yourself. So Fausta, to you about being an authentic self, given what Ewan was just talking about, what's your reaction?
For me, agility it's really everything, and it fits very well with authenticity. What I'm hearing more and more really is also the combination with ambiguity, right? We are working a lot with these ambiguity elements that we don't know, right? And it's connected with something that Sophia was saying, right? You need to be brave, right? You need to have courage to say what you need to say, to speak up, to confront, right? What the change is not nice, it's not difficult, but it's here. It's going to be faster. It's going to be everywhere. So you can hide and wait until things go back to normal. We tried that with COVID, right? It was going to wait to be 1 week, 1 month, and then it was a full year. Or you just go and deal with it. I'm going to talk a little bit about courage, right? For when I talk about authenticity, that and I have a post-it here that says, right, courage is fear walking, and for me, really, this agility or ambiguity or adaptability is that you have to go and deal with it and take a stand and have a point of view and say, hey, follow me. We have a vision, we need to move forward, but to really confront it and have the energy to rise again the challenges that you're going to do. And again, going back to the team thing, it's better if you do it together with someone else and not alone, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Sophia, what's your reaction? There's clearly a connection. Walk us through it.
Yeah, and the connection is that there's a self-consciousness here, right? That you have a limited amount of energy to be a leader, and that you will be your most effective leader if you channel that energy. So that part of the definition of being a front runner is knowing who to gather around you and what to focus on first. I want to bring it down to something very practical, just to connect it all. I think there's a traditional definition of a leader being the strongest, the fastest, working the hardest, maybe being the most gregarious, the most extroverted. And what you're hearing here is that people who have actually made it, and not just made it successfully financially or career-wise, but made it in the thing they really care about. Like Fausta really cares about her thing, is an expert in it, same with you and same for me. They actually don't try and do it all. They don't try and be the fastest. It's very much a switch from the hare to the tortoise, for those who understand those reference, and for those who don't, it's easily available. So there's a softness. And I think part of that softness succeeds through planning. So we've talked very high level, very strategically. Everything Fausta and Ewan says to me also says, have a roadmap. Have a roadmap for your vision. Know if you want to go from project developer to design expert to client partner. Know if you want to go from green coding to climate PhD, and maybe really take the time to write that out for yourself.
Very good, very good. Ewan, again, fantastic. I appreciate the vision and the connection to adaptability and what you brought. Now, I realize that the Economist Research Project is queuing up to be released to a wider audience very soon, right? It's in September. Can you drop any dates of when we could start consuming this data? Maybe it's already here, but anything to close with on that data and when we could start to see it?
Sure. It's actually, it's been soft launched, and it was soft launched in August, and it's going hard launch in September the 22nd. And it cost an awful lot of money for my team. And I think it's, I have to say, I think it's a really strong piece of work. And when you're partnering with an organization like The Economist, you generally get a bit of an uplift in, brand and actually reaching different types of audiences that sometimes we struggle to reach. So what I can do is send a link to the landing site. There's the whole sort of Economist Impact landing site. And there's a modern enterprise page, which sort of takes the learnings. And as you go through the Economist Future Ready Business page, you'll see all these drivers to Cognizant. So what we're trying to do, or what we want to do, is position Cognizant as a company and its people as an organization that really understands what it takes to build a modern business in the current era. So, for example, if you are struggling to figure out where to prioritize, if you want to look at your technology, you want to look at your talent strategies, you want to understand whether your ESG is really up to scratch, then The Economist has a benchmark that can help. And because The Economist have built it, it generally holds a lot more trust, which I think is another, to Alistair's point about authenticity, there's a lot more trust in the data set than us. But of course, we've got all the the follow through and all the thinking behind it. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. But September the 22nd, that's the big date when it will actually go live.
Incredible thought leadership. Now, you also took away a little bit of my job, which is to build really good bridges between one speaker to the next. So Fausta, you and teed up trust. We have teed you up perfectly to take us into talking about authenticity now. I'm looking forward to this. I think it's a passion of mine. Talk to us more about it, please.
It's a passion of mine too, right? And for me, it's the best treat of all. No, I'm kidding that I had, but or that I had to speak about, right? And it's really, as we all know, right, it's really about being true to our own personality, to our own values and spirit, regardless of the pressure that we are under, right, to act otherwise. And for me, as I said before, it really starts off with being fully ourselves, right? And here I would like to undermark the fully, right, because we are ourselves, but we sometimes are not brave enough to be fully there, right? And being comfortable, right, with who we are. And this maybe mean that we are not sometimes we need to be comfortable being uncomfortable, and because our full ourselves, right, they of course have the strengths and the good things and the talents, but also it is the battle with our own insecurities, our own baggage, right? And it's about being you and making room for others, right, with all those two parts. I remember when I moved to New York. I'm originally from Argentina. I moved to the US 15 years ago. I was pregnant with my first child, and I resigned to my job. I followed my husband to the US, and I was not comfortable being my fully self there. You can mix a little bit of the expatriation to also to learn to thrive in an English speaking environment with the accent. And this is a little bit of what do you do, right? What it means to be really authentic. And it means really having this courage to not being afraid, to be loud, right? To don't shrink, to be what others, right? I was not a man, I was not American, I was a lot of things, but I was not others, right? So what do I play? And usually we focus a lot in what we are not, what we don't have, right? And we forgot our strengths or what we can, right? What we can bring to the table, and also that you don't need to have everything as Sophia was saying, right? That we can build a team, that we can delegate, right? So the other day I write this phrase that I find, I don't remember where, but it says that my vulnerability doesn't diminish my capacity to work, right? But enhance my capacity to lead. So the more, right, the more vulnerable, the more real I'm there, I feel like also I become a better leader, right? Not the leader that knows all, but that listens, that acts with compassion, that shows empathy. And at the end, of course, really have fun, right? Have fun and dream big. We spend so much time working that if it's not fun, and if it not take us to get a better version and dream and really give ourselves the permission to be who we want to be, right? Even if we don't have that plan yet, figure out if we don't have the blueprint yet, but that if we don't dream big, that we put our limits.
Sure.
That's for me part of also that authenticity.
Sure. Fantastic. Even more fodder for my t-shirt business on leadership. Sophia, let's talk about authenticity by way of vision. There seems to be a lot of parallels. Help me connect them.
Well, if your vision is not authentic to what you truly believe, you will run out of energy. You will not achieve it. You will not make it adaptable, to Ewan's point. So if you look at the front runners in front of you, right? If you look at who the audience we can assume want to be as front runners, I think it starts with Fausta. It starts with Fausta's theme of being authentic. And then it goes to you, and make sure your authenticity is adaptable, because just because you feel it doesn't mean other people do. Just because you feel it doesn't mean it's right. You got to shed some of the raw emotional core, right? And then you go for it. You go for it with determination and resilience, just like Jessica talked about. And if you can combine Fausta, Ewan, and Jessica, I think you get to an appropriate vision for yourself.
So if we combine all of those, what you're telling me is we might have mastered the art of building a front runner. I heard you say it. I just want to confirm that we did such a phenomenal job of turning this all the way around back to saying, hey, we've just officially defined what a front runner is by talking to some of the most brilliant people that I can call colleagues. Sophia, can you confirm that that's exactly what you meant so I can run with it?
That's exactly what I meant. And it's for you, it's for the listener, it's for the audience. So that you're here next.
I love it. I love it. Fausta, thank you very much. Authenticity, being your authentic self, is something that we have to remind ourselves. We have to remind our teams, and something that I think we do very well when we bring the Cognizant Softvision brand out there to the market. Being our authentic selves is what we are very good at. Folks, this was a fantastic conversation. I hope our audience enjoyed it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I learned, I listened, and I feel like I'm a better version of myself for being here. So thank you, Fausta. Thank you, Ewan. Thank you, Sophia. Such a pleasure to have you guys here. Such fantastic thought leadership. For everyone else, we'll see you at the remainder of Programmers Week.